And I think that'll work for the new nerds of the world. And the people who get ahead because they're star salesmen or charismatic personalities, I'm not one of those, so I don't know how to do that. So if you're not a nerd, I can't help you.
Similar to the question before on what advice you would give to young individuals with a passion for business and finance, what would you say is the best possible way for someone to expose themselves and expand their understanding of working in the business world without actually currently being involved in it? And how can I maximize my potential value to a corporation in the future by what I do right now?
Well, that's a good question. And there's so many of you now who want to be rich by going into finance. And of course, that multitude is not going to all get rich. And of course, 99% will be in the bottom 99%. That's just the way it's going to work. If I look at the people in my generation who were the nerds who were patient and rational, eventually did well, who lived within their income and worked at being sensible, and when they saw an opportunity, grabbed it pretty fiercely and so forth. And I think that'll work for the new nerds of the world. And the people who get ahead because they're star salesmen or charismatic personalities, I'm not one of those, so I don't know how to do that. So if you're not a nerd, I can't help you. And I think that the odds are that most people who try to do finance are not going to succeed. And there's a lot of wretched excess in it because easy money will always attract wretched excess. It's just the nature. It's like a bunch of animals feeding on a carcass in Africa. By the way, that's image I chose on purpose. But no, so I don't think it's so pretty. And I don't think that modern finance is so wonderful. And in my day, a lot of the finance people were more like engineers. They were so chastened by the Great Depression and all the wretched failure that they really tried to make everything super safe. And it was a very different, plodding place that the people weren't trying to get rich, they were trying to be safe. This modern world is radically different. And I'm not sure if I were starting out in your world, how well I would do. It would be a lot harder than it was to get ahead in the world the way it was when I came up. If I were you, my best advance, I think you'll be happier if you reduce your expectations than if you try and satisfy them. And by the way, I think that's generally a very good idea. It sounds silly, but it's so obvious. You know how many of us are fairly content with pretty moderate success? That is worth knowing, because that's what most of us are going to get.
So how did you figure out, a lot of people look at your life and would want to emulate what you've done. Is that something that people can do, look at someone like yourself and see your path? I mean, you're in real estate law, then investing. What do you even consider yourself? A businessman? How would you describe what you do?
Well, I don't consider myself I think my way of thinking will work for anybody, of trying to be very rational and disciplined. So I think that much. But to flit around to various careers and go into the other fellow's professional territory and try and outdo him and do all kinds of things like that, I think will not work for most people. And so I always I'm always being visited by young men who say, I'm practicing law and I don't like it. I'd rather be a billionaire. How can I do it? And I tell them, well, I'll tell you a story. A young man goes to see Mozart. And he says, Mozart, I want to start composing symphonies. And Mozart said, how old are you? And the guy says, 22. And he says, you're too young to do symphonies. And the guy says, yes, but you were 10 years old when you were composing symphonies. And Mozart says, yes, but I wasn't running around asking other people how to do it.
Right.
So I think this flitting around business is something not everybody should try.
Yeah, I think
I think if I tried it again, it might not have worked as well.
you said just figure out
I
how
may
to
have
do
been
something
quite
and do
lucky.
it. Why were you were lucky?
Yeah, I think I had some luck, yes.
Well, but I think there's more to it than that. I mean, where were you looking?
Yes, the combination of luck and skill.
Hello, Mr. Buffett, Mr. Munger. My name is Grant Gibson. I'm from Denver, Colorado, and this is my 5th consecutive year here, so thank you for having us.
Thanks for coming.
Appreciate it. With all due respect, Mr. Buffett, this question is for Mr. Munger. In your career of thousands of negotiations and business dealings, could you describe for the crowd which one sticks out in your mind as your favorite or as otherwise noteworthy?
Well, I don't think I've got a favorite, but the one that probably did us the most good as a learning experience was See's Candy. It just, the power of the brand, the unending flow of ever-increasing money with no work.
Sounds nice.
It was, and I'm not sure we would have bought the Coca-Cola if we hadn't bought the Seas. I think that a life properly lived is just learn all the time. And I think Berkshire's gained enormously from these investment decisions by learning through a long, long period. Every time you appoint a new person that's never had big capital allocation experience, it's like rolling the dice. And I think we're way better off having done it so long. But the decisions blend. And the one feature that comes through is the continuous learning. If we had not kept learning, you wouldn't even be here. You'd be alive probably, but not here.
There's nothing like the pain of being in a lousy business to make you appreciate a good one.
Well, there's nothing like getting into a really good one. That's a very pleasant experience, and it's a learning experience. I have a friend who says, the first rule of fishing is to fish where the fish are. And the second rule of fishing is to never forget the first rule. And we've gotten good at fishing where the fish are.
Yeah, that's only metaphorically. I
There are
went,
too
to, I
many
went to
other-
fish with Charlie one
There
time.
are
We
too
didn't
many
get-
other boats in the damn water, but the fish are still there.
Yeah, we bought a department store in Baltimore in 1966, and there's really nothing like being in the experience of trying to decide whether you're going to put a new store in a area that hasn't really developed yet enough to support it, but your competitor may move there first, and then you have the decision of whether to jump in, and if you jump in, that kind of spoils it. Now you got 2 stores where even 1 store isn't quite justified. How to play those games, those business games, is you learn a lot by trying, and what you really learn is which ones to avoid. I mean, if you just stay out of a bunch of terrible businesses, you're off to a very great start, because we've tried them all.
But you can really learn because the experience is a lot like eating cockleburgers, and it really gets your attention.
Well, we won't expand on that.